Good morning and welcome to the West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's virtual Sunday service. We are also affectionately known as Wolf. My name is George Taylor. I use the pronouns he and him, and it is my privilege to serve as your lay leader this morning. Whoever and wherever you happen to be, we want you to know that you are welcome here, no matter your age or abilities, the color of your skin, or where you were born. Whomever you love, or the pronouns you use, whatever spiritual practices you follow, or if you follow none, whether your heart is overflowing with gratitude and joy, or broken with grief and pain, we are so grateful to be with you this morning, all of us local to this virtual community of conscience and compassion. I encourage you to check the announcements in your order of service to see what else is happening this week, and especially to join us for our virtual coffee hour at 11:30. It's an opportunity to check in with each other, share our joys and sorrows, and talk about today's service. If this is your first time with us and you don't have an order of service, but you'd like to know more about who we are and how we stay connected during this time of social distancing, I invite you to get in touch with our congregational administrator through our website, whuuf.org. And now, as I light the chalice, the Unitarian Universalist symbol of our shared and scattered faith, let us consider these words by Amanda Gorman from her poem for President Biden's inauguration. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Please join with me in speaking our opening affirmation. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word.
Good morning. Welcome to our Chorister spring service. This is an anniversary for us. Last year we were doing our spring service as we always do, but not, because the pandemic made us all go away, and we had to scramble and figure out, well, how do we continue to do music together, and had to figure out how to rehearse and record remotely, and how to do video editing and all of that. So we've come a long way since then. We're old hats at it now, having been doing it for a year, and we really hope that this is the last spring service like this we have to do. So the subject for our service today are hymns, and of course hymns are a very important part of our faith. We love to sing them together, and they bring us together in so many ways. The words speak to us of our faith and what we believe in, and in a way that hits an emotional center that we don't necessarily experience as much or in the same way when we hear those words spoken. They've also been a really important part of how we've stayed together as a chorister group, because when we rehearse, we can't listen to each other all sing at the same time. It doesn't work on Zoom because there's a lag time and all our voices get jumbled. So we all have to put ourselves on mute and we listen to Ben play the song and we sing along, but only hear ourselves. So when we sing a hymn, usually it's very familiar, so it's not hard to sing along. And we also have a sense that our chorister friends are there doing the same thing. We can almost imagine and hear them singing with us. So you'll get to hear different choristers singing some of their favorite hymns, just a few verses of them. And then giving you a little background on the hymn, maybe some history, and also their personal connection to that hymn and what the hymn means to them. We really hope that you sing along with us too today. This can be a very participatory kind of service. So you'll get to experience a little bit of what we do each week, singing along, if you haven't already, all this year, singing along to the music from the comfort of your own home. But just imagine all of our voices together the way that we would in a live congregation, and we'll get back there soon.
Sweet the rains do fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness when God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's day. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of a new day. Bring many names, beautiful and good, celebrating parable and story, holiness and glory, living, loving God, hail and Hosanna, bring many names, strong.
Good morning, my name is Virginia, and this is my friend Raggedy Ann. I brought her along as a prop to represent history. I was asked to pick a song that really speaks to me and share its history. The song that I have chosen is Bring Many Names by British author Brian Wren. He wrote this in 1968 and revised it later in the 80s. The author was a Christian pastor who focused on fighting poverty and working for peace and justice. He also wanted God to be seen as both male and female, and both young and old. The words to this hymn convey that, and I really related to them. In addition to this, as soon as I hear a few chords played, I feel like I have returned home because of my personal history. I attended First Church in the early 80s, and through 2014. We sang this song often. When I retired and we transferred to Woof, this hymn greeted me like an old friend. Additionally, I was thrilled to see that several choristers and a director had also transferred to Woof. And so singing this piece of music with new and old friends alike felt complete. As for my prop, this young lady has been with me since I was a young girl, and she always makes my heart light and happy. Sometimes a prop and singing a few beautiful chords and raising your voice in song are all you need to make your heart sing.
Strong Mother God, working night and day, planning all the wonders of creation, setting each equation, genius at play. Hail and Hosanna, strong Mother God.
Follow the Drinking Gourd. I first heard this song from a Weavers album when I was in high school. So, having known it for most of my adult life, I was really glad to find it in the UU hymnal. It's a song from the pre-Civil War South, and it gives a start time and a route for escaping slaves. The sun comes back in the spring, when the days are getting longer. That's also the quail's mating season. The drinking gourd refers to the Big Dipper, which points to the North Star, the direction of freedom. The river in the second verse is the Tombigbee River, which flows from northeastern Mississippi into Mobile Bay. Pegleg Joe, a former sailor, was an operative on the Underground Railroad. He is probably the old man, which is nautical slang for captain. He apparently marked trees with the image of a human foot and a round spot in the place of the right foot. From the headwaters of the Tombigbee, the river on the other side is the Tennessee River, which will take you to the Ohio River and to freedom. When the sun comes back and the first quail calls, follow the drinking gourd. The old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. For the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Now the river bank will make a mighty good road. The dead trees will show you the way. Left foot, peg foot, traveling on. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. For the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd.
This is time for meditation, prayer, and reflection. Dear Spirit of love and life, holy web of being, let us be thankful for soil that grows our food, rain that waters it, and sun that gives energy for all life. For friends and family and children who laugh and play. For the opening of our society after more than a year of pandemic, and for stories that nurture us and remind us who we are. Let us tell a story of our births, how we came into this world, life's longing for itself, loved by existence, worthy and whole. Let us tell a story of human society, where we care for each other and the earth. Let us tell a story of resilience, how we, even with loss and pain, made it through a challenging year. And let us also remember compassion for those in the United States who are not yet vaccinated because it is not available or it is too dangerous for their bodies. And for the majority of people in the world who are not vaccinated and live in fear and grief as COVID runs through their communities. And let us have compassion for each other as we find our way into this time of opening, wanting to gather, but holding the various needs for inclusion and safety. Amen. Let us now have time for prayer, meditation, or reflection, as is your tradition.
The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Father, carry me, child, I will always be. Father, carry me down to the sea.
Siahamba originated in South Africa, quite likely from a Zulu folk song. As with much indigenous African music, it's in the form of call and response. A leader sings the melody, and then all voices join in, repeating that phrase. In my arrangement this morning, I've sung it once as a call and response, and a second time fully harmonized, as you often hear it today. Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko, Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko, Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko, Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko, Siahamba, Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko, Siahamba, Siahamba kukanyeni kwenko. Siahamba kukanyeni. Siahamba is a South African freedom song. Many such songs sprung from the liberation movement of Black South Africans against apartheid white rule. Usually translated as "We are marching in the light of God," Siahamba contains layers of meaning. We is a word of community, the community of those living and the community of the dead ancestors. In African traditional society, often those who have died are still with us, and their witness may influence the actions of the living. Marching is an action that unifies the community as they move physically and spiritually in the same direction. It is a bodily, kinesthetic response to the leading of the spirit rather than a passive acquiescence. South African freedom songs have become global songs for those who struggle for freedom, and it reminds us just how precious our own freedom is. On a personal note, I remember teaching this song to a group of Maasai friends in one of the Kenyan national parks during a 1-hour walk. Though the song was new to them, with their oral traditions, they learned the song quickly, and soon we were hiking along singing in 4-part harmony. A wonderful memory indeed. Siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko, siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko. Siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko, siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko. Siya hamba, siya hamba siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko. Siya hamba siya hamba kukanyeli kwenko.
Good morning. I'm Karen Stratton, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of our hymn books. The collections of songs in our hymn books represent who we are as an organization and as a faith community, and what we believed at the time the books were printed. Those of us who gather in our fellowships and churches learn about who we are and what we believe through the songs we choose to sing. And if you doubt this statement, I would like you to imagine the response if one Sunday at Wolf our chosen hymns were Just a Closer Walk with Jesus or The Old Rugged Cross. Those would not represent our current faith. So new hymn books are created when the old ones don't represent the fullness of who we are anymore. The UU history of hymns is quite long. It goes back all the way to the late 1700s. At that time, early Unitarians and Universalists were separate denominations, but the people were similar to UUs today. They freely changed the words of traditional Protestant hymns to suit their own theology. Later, in the 1800s, Unitarians and Universalists created more than 50 hymnals, more than any other denomination. Oftentimes, a minister of a particular church would have a set of hymns or hymn book just for his own congregation. Many of those songs, however, still appear in our gray hymnals, although the words have been changed repeatedly over the years as our faith ideas have changed. Of course, into the 20th century, the hymns and hymnals continued to follow the development of our faith into a more humanistic and less Christian faith. In 1937, the Unitarians and the Universalists published a book called Hymns of the Spirit. This included hymns and a book of services. It's interesting that it was created more than 25 years before the official merger of the Unitarian and Universalist associations. And when they did finally consolidate, they created the first official UU hymnal, which was called Hymns for the Celebration of Life in 1964. You might imagine that during the 60s, there was a lot of change going on in UU churches. And it didn't take long for people to point out the limitations of many of the words in the new hymnal. Particular words were becoming unacceptable to indicate all of humankind. Words like mankind and brotherhood, which were once common, were no longer acceptable to include men and women. Some congregations just crossed out and changed the words in their hymnals. We kind of still do that today. The other thing that was very different was it became unacceptable to refer to God as male, no more he or father or Lord. In 1985, Carolyn McDade wrote Spirit of Life, which is a song we love to sing every Sunday. This was a turning point for UU hymns because it was written for our own faith tradition instead of just changing the words from a Christian tune. 8 years later, in 1993, the gray hymnal that we use today was published. And this was the very first time songs by people who are not white were included in a UU hymnal. This was only 28 years ago. Many UU hymns traditionally use language of light being good and dark being bad, which reflects our history of racism. Over the years, many of these words have been purposefully changed. For example, in hymn number 391, A Voice Still and Small, the words were changed deliberately from dark and rain to storm and rain. I hope you agree with me that hymns are an important part of each UU service because music stimulates specific areas of our brains and can evoke profound emotions. The hymns we chose to share with you today are some of our favorites, and we chose them to span the long years of our history and to demonstrate the variety of hymns that are available to us today. Thank you.
The
Side of Love was written by Jason Shelton, a UU songwriter. I attended a workshop with Jason a couple years ago, and he told us a story of how this hymn has changed, even since it was first published in the Teal Hymnal. The story was that at a UU General Assembly, a group of buses had been rented to take people to a justice protest, but no arrangements had been made for people who could not climb the stairs into the buses. This thoughtless exclusivity came together with an awareness that the words of some of our hymns are also not inclusive, because we rely on metaphors like standing up for justice. And this is painful for some to hear when they can't walk or stand. Jason wrote Standing on the Side of Love originally in support of marriage equality for gay people, but some UUs felt excluded by his words. After much thought and discussion, Jason volunteered to change the words in his song to Answering the Call of Love. Not everyone agreed with this change, and some pointed out that those who can't speak or hear might now feel excluded. I repeat this story today just to demonstrate that hymns evolve over time, and that reflecting seriously on the words that we sing can help us grow in our faith. Jason's hymns are some of our best, to me. They are stirring, full of feeling, and have great tunes and choruses. Every time I sing this song, I remember singing with Jason and soaking up his passion for UU hymns. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Good morning. I'm God Merrick. I want to share my reflections on hymn 1068, Rising Green. My interest in this song came about soon after the release of the Teal Hymnal about 15 years ago. I saw Rising Green and its lyrics as important to use for services that might focus on the UU 7th principle, the interdependence of life. Also for Earth Day, because the lyrics spoke to our relationship with the earth, with the animals, with the plants, and how to preserve them. It was a song of caring for life. My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. Her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul like an open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in here, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
I'm going to sing for you a song from the Teal Hymnal number 1017. It's by Martha Sandifer. It's called Building a New Way, arranged by Jim Scott. And I was turned on to this song by a recording from the internet by the Love Supremes. You might listen to it. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
This is the time in our service when we pause to reflect on the gifts we've received from this abundant earth and the generous spirit of family and community. We consider what we have given and what we are grateful for. During the musical interlude, please consider the gifts you have to offer our Wolf community. This morning, we share the basket with Neighborhood House, with whom Wolf has had a long-standing relationship. Our 2 Cans for Hunger program, in which we collect food weekly for them, has been in existence for at least 10 years. Unfortunately, that program has dwindled due to COVID, yet the need remains great. Neighborhood House continues their work to bring neighbors together to reduce hunger and homelessness and to educate both young and old, strengthening our community by providing resources to support self-reliance, economic independence, and dignity in people of all ages and backgrounds. We hope that the funds generated by Donate the Basket will be of help until we are together again and can resume our food collection program. We remember at this time that we drink from wells we did not dig and build on foundations we did not lay. Wolf exists because of the generous spirit and commitment of all those who came before us, just as our future health depends on the dedication and commitment of those here now. Join me, please, in our affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Well, I hope you enjoyed going on that hymn journey with us, and I hope you sang along. Before we close our service, I just want to say thank you to all the choristers for all their hard recording work and keeping our community together through this year. Special thanks to Karen Stratton, who came up with the idea for our hymn service, and who's been doing a lot of extra work to help keep us organized and put together music for our services. And lastly, to Ben Millstein, who is an incredible pianist and musician, and who you heard playing underneath all the singers today, putting together the recordings for us and being such a steady force in the life of our group. We are a gentle, angry people. I love that this hymn is in our hymnal by Holly Near. It's such a strong and assertive piece that says a lot about our faith. And because we do come from a place of love and try to be understanding, and we also are not happy with the world as it is. There are injustices. There are things that need constant attention and work, and that's ongoing. And so we can be both. We can be gentle and angry at the same time. And the line, "We are singing for our lives," has a special connotation for me, because I think without singing, my life would feel very, very empty. And especially in hard times like the times we've been going through. And I think I can probably speak a lot for the choristers, and maybe for many of you, having that song in your heart and being able to sing it no matter what makes a big difference. So thank you for joining us this morning, and be well.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives.
We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives.
We are young and old together, and we are singing for
loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lost.
As we extinguish the chalice, let us resolve to carry within us the warm glow of its flame and all that it stands for. As we make our way through the coming week and all that it brings, let us, in the words of the poet Billy Collins, promise to shine long after we have left this place, some firebrands, some famous flames, others night lights there to show others the way, but everyone daughters and sons illuminated from within. These promises we will carry with us until we meet again.
Carry the flame of peace and love until we